stop air being forced out of you by an accurate punch that's tying with the punch you threw, but missed, and you out there, I don't want to get hit with no shot like that, and I have got hit like that. And let me tell you who hit me with that shot. That took me off my game, and I mentioned this at many interviews. You know who I'm talking about, RJ. Look at that first fight, and Roy hit me with that left hook to the body, and he jumped from across the ring. You know, he had that leaping, and the reaction of anyone that get hit with a punch by him leaping, doing something very unorthodox that we are told not to do. Dre, I held that right hand
the rest of the night
and didn't let it go. I won't be replaced. Records get broken, but what I've done and who I am will end with me in my time of
the legacy remains.
Legacy.
Yeah, legacy
Correct.
remains. Now the 10 some odd plus year middleweight run, shockingly for a lot of people, came to an end. Now you're about 40 years old, you know, and you promised your mother that you would stop at 40. Why did you not stop at 40?
Because I believe that she know that I'd have been regretting what I didn't accomplish or what I could have accomplished. And you know why I look at that, Dre, as being something, even though she wasn't here to say it, knowing my mom and knowing I'll always be able to convince her that I didn't do it.
Right. Right.
I ran off 8 to 10 fights in between 40 and when I retired at 52. I do believe that she's sitting right there up there and she negotiating as much as she can when I do make the wrong. Established a hell of a historic, talked about for decades career, correct? I seal the deal and lose my last fight, correct?
Yeah.
Be afraid for those who think I'm done out of the ring, yes. But they should be preparing for what I'm gonna do next in the second half of my life. And that necessarily don't mean nothing dealing with sports. It's understanding I'm in competition with myself means to keep me productive for the future of my family, my son, my daughters. The first fight, split decision. Second fight, TKO. Historic moments in the middle. I ended the way I started. So those who are sleeping at the wheel, preach.
Yeah.
Those who don't understand why I think that way, they don't know me, Dre. Because they haven't been listening. They hear me, but they haven't been listening. There's a difference between those two things, hearing and listening. And that's how I've been winning in life.
Yeah.
Oh, he talking. Oh, he talking. Okay.
Well, you've been coming out on top for a long, long time, you know, and
this is the right move to get this land. I'm telling you, this neighborhood gonna change. We couldn't do this what we doing right now 10 years ago. Y'all wouldn't come down here. These cameras be gone. I can't even keep the wolves off you. There are neighborhoods in your community like that. But what I've learned, that everybody ain't gonna believe your vision. Everybody ain't believe your vision from the Olympics to now. But I believe it. And that's why I'm gonna continue to be who I am.
and most of the time, you winning on the chessboard. But I want
to make it a thing amongst my group, my culture against your culture, because we got this culture locked down in every aspect at that time in every sport. It wasn't too many people coming from any other part of the country. Now it is. Look at the NBA. And I'm not saying it is right, it's good. I think it's great. But I knew back then, I knew at that moment, I wanted to show that I would never let At that time, white boy beat me in anything because that was something I wasn't taught. That was something I lived. That we had to be better than them, and that statement came out based on that particular mindset at that time.
So Joe is an extremely
Wanted to clean up the lie that they seen and that they know. We got Pavlik for you. Why? Because he knocked out Jermaine Teller, exposed that. Jermaine Teller went 20-something rounds with me. He ain't no more good. Anyone that goes 20-something rounds in a fight with B-Hop, trust me, the damage is within. You can't see it, but it's within. Here first, and everything else fall into place. So y'all feed Jermaine Teller to Kelly Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik knocks him out after suffering almost a knockdown himself. And they said, you know, one of the telltale signs when they know they got somebody that they know they can beat you, when the negotiations ain't hard. What you want, we got it.
too easy.
Did I ask for too less? And then that fight took place in Atlantic City. And I told Kelly Pavlik, please look at the receipts of that fight and look at after the fight was over. And when he see me, I was talking to him in the corner. I went over, fight's over, and I said, you have a great career if you don't let this fight damage you.
Cold for that though. Huh? Come on. You do what you did to that man and you tell him that.
I went over to the corner. When you see me go over to that corner, Brother Nazim, I know he's looking down. I felt, to me, it was more of a relief. It was more relief because I wanted to make sure that I left out on my terms. One. Second, I know the risk even more based on age and based on who you're fighting. Look, he wasn't a superstar or a known guy that anybody could pick up and say, this could be a super fight. But he was credible enough and strong enough to be able to give a person.
But when Bernard started putting it on him, I was like, wow, this is, first of all, this is like a legitimate middleweight fighting a guy's really a welterweight. And this is also a really special fighter who just figures people out.
He fought Tito in New York City, in Madison Square Garden, which is little Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Like, I think it was the week of the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Yes.
Like, and previously to that fight in Puerto Rico, Bernard Hopkins took the Puerto Rican flag, threw it down, caused a melee, had to run out of there, get snatched out of the arena, wherever they were having a press conference, get thrown on the plane. Like, the beef was real.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to, like perform under that kind of pressure, unreal. One of my favorite fights.
So when he was running away from the crowd in Puerto Rico, you realize, like, oh my God, he's on his own here. Like, literally, people are trying to kill him.
But what's even crazier is he knew that was going to happen. Like, he knew, okay, this is getting ready to happen in 3.
I mean, I feel like there's one example right there. You see how gigantic his biceps are, but you see it almost more while he's fighting. I mean, really had like a body built to hook you.
Yeah.
What if Jones remained heavyweight? I mean, look, he was so goddamn fast. I mean, John Ruiz just was whiffing at air in that fight.
Well, the thing about after the Ruiz fight is, we had the same manager, James Prince. There was a Tyson fight on the table, and I believe I'm accurate when I say this. It was somewhere around 40 million guaranteed. Well, there's an upside too. You stay at heavyweight, keep the weight on, and Tyson wasn't quite Tyson at that time.
Right.
Still dangerous, but wasn't quite Tyson. I think they were working toward it. From what I've heard, Roy wanted more money. James Prince was like, bro, take this, 40 million. There's going to be an upside. It's you and Mike Tyson, Roy Jones and Mike Tyson. Roy somehow said, no, the fight will be there later on down the road. Put his attention toward Antonio Tarver. The rest is history.
Wow. I'm kind of glad I didn't fight Tyson.
I wanted to see him fight Tyson and ride off in the sunset. Uno más. One more. One.
A little overshadowed by his brother too, because you know when
For a
your
while.
brother's a superstar, there's something about, I mean, and especially like his brother when he was fighting Strikeforce in particular was one of the best fighters in the world. He was just amazing. And then you know, like especially like during like his title reign, like when he was at his peak when he was fighting Strikeforce. But for whatever reason, they just you know Nate just flew under the radar.
Until that Conor McGregor fight,
Yes.
the first one.
Yeah.
Then they
Yeah.
recognize.
Yeah, I hope they capitalize on it now, you know, while he still has a few years left.
Yeah. It's that whole layoff thing. Not even trying to stay relevant, but just trying to keep your skills from eroding. Like that's a whole thing right there. And then trying to go perform after that amount of time. Like it's hard. You know what I mean? If I get back, I'm gonna get it within the confines of these rules, but you gonna feel me. Kovalev knocked me down. All right, bro, I got you. Smile. You're embarrassed. You're mad. You're frustrated. You're everything. And then that 8 second, that 8 count you're getting, you feel every emotion you could possibly feel. But inside, I knew like, now you're gonna have to knock me out because I'm coming to get it. So some of it is innate. Some of it was taught. And then throughout the course of my life and career, I was given the mental reps. Hey son, watch him right here. Watch how so-and-so pushed his hand down and he got right back in his face. Not out of the ring, but in the ring. Teaching me and showing me and highlighting what a strong mind was and what a weak mind was. And typically, the weak mind was the loudest talker. I love.
It's interesting the difference in power punchers. Like there's levels of power punchers.
Yeah.
We always thought of him as this power puncher,
Yeah.
like because he's the crusher, knocked
Yeah.
a lot of people out. But then there's like a Julian Jackson level. There's a snap.
Different.
People just go stiff. And
George Foreman.
Yes.
He like George could kill you.
Yes.
He hits right.
The Joe Frazier fight.
Yes.
Like Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. George was one of them. I mean, there's been a bunch of guys like that, but it's that different level of power punching. I mean, Ernie Shavers was another one. There's certain guys. You know, I mean, fuck, man. Thomas Hearns in his prime. The way he put away Roberto Duran. Holy shit. And also the torque. You know, there was so much the distance between like the length of his arms, the width of his shoulders, and then blap, and that punch would come in. It was like a snapping power.
I mean, listen, he did have power. I don't want to take away from him.
Yes,
like, he beat a lot of guys in their hometowns, home countries, like, and that's the reason why. Like, at a certain point in the fight, you would see him hit a guy, and all of a sudden their body language was different. But I think one thing that was lost on my whole career that nobody ever talked about was I probably had one of the best chins in the sport of boxing over the last, you know, at that time, 10 years. Like, I'd beaten the best, the heaviest punchers in the game and in my weight class. Like, if you look at Kovalev, all the damage that he's done in the light heavyweight division, he had 20 rounds. He had 1 moment. He didn't have a wobble. He didn't shake me up anywhere. One moment, and it was a flash moment. So just quantify that, like a motivation, man, and just the drive. Like it was like win or die. And then here's the thing about life. I don't know about MMA, but the only sport that I know of where one loss changes your pay scale. Like if you have a minimum, like hey, you win a title, your first defense is this, second defense is that. These are your minimums. We'll negotiate beyond that, you know, whatever. Go ahead and lose one. That's gonna get cut in half. So a loss literally takes food off my family's table. I also knew that my critics and my supporters, but namely my critics, they had a front row seat. I only started to read comments again. Frankly, I didn't watch boxing for the past 3 or 4 years. Really? And I'm a boxing buff.
Why didn't you watch?
I was burnt out. The opinions, the bias, the double standards. Good stuff too, but I was just burnt. And it was so weird for me because I'm the guy that would break his neck to go watch Tuesday night Gillette fights as a kid. Like, dude, I gotta get back. Dude, you don't even know who's fighting. It doesn't matter. There's 2 guys in the ring. I'm watching it. Friday night fights for many years. I was over it. Going through what I went through with the lawsuit, going through what I went through with the injuries, the highs and lows, and everything in between. I was just burnt.
The feeling when a guy's done that. There's a fear to facing that guy.
And I had to face that fear. I'm human. And that was presented to me. But that's where the mindset comes into play. That's where my faith comes into play, where it's like, listen, man, unfortunately that happened to that guy, but you ain't doing that to me. Like that's the mindset part. Like if you allow that stuff to seep in, take root, and start to fester in your heart and your mind, you'll never get past the starting line. you'll go out there and be like, man, who was that dude that was performing that night? That wasn't me. He was gonna have to do something to me because I was coming to win, man. And again, it's not that I'm not the toughest guy in the world, but like I just believe what I believe. I feel like I was there for a reason, and unfortunately, that happened to that young man. But I just didn't believe that was gonna happen to me, and that's what I had to keep feeding myself in order to get past that and then go perform.
Now, how did you make the decision? You stop him in the second fight. What about a rubber match? That wasn't exciting for you? No?
Even twice.
Did Kovalev ask for a rubber match?
No. Man, he would probably, if somebody asked me, you want a rematch or what? Yes, of course. He didn't want it. He didn't really want it. So that was the 3-fight exit strategy with HBO. Give me a fight at light heavy. I'll probably do catch weight at home, cruiserweight.
What do you want around that?
Back then?
Yeah.
About 85.
So you would have a game with him.
I'd have had to tighten myself up at 85, 90. You're probably low weight. Yeah.
Cruiserweight limit is 90.
It's 200.
It's 200.
I probably wouldn't have got to 2. Probably around 190, 192, something like that. So that was a 3-fight deal. And the third fight was going to be Anthony Joshua. Don't know if it would have been made. We hadn't even gotten that far, but that was out. And in the 2 years that followed, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, harder than I thought it was going to be. One of the hardest, if not the hardest thing I've ever tried, had to do, and still, like, I still have to do. Like, it's a daily decision. I'm not doing it no more. But one of the most rewarding, man. And it was a necessary evil. And I hope that one day, man, the young guys can look up and say, I'm going to do that. Like, how long do we have?